Diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Hey, this is Lincoln Kennedy. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by Mercedes-Benz.
After earning a split of their series with the Giants, the Phils host the Marlins tonight to open a weekend set. Zach Wheeler takes the ball for Philly. Flyers forward Matvei Michkov made his final chase for the Calder Trophy last night, taking the NHL's rookie lead for goals in the season finale loss to Buffalo. And free agent QB Aaron Rodgers told the Pat McAfee show he's undecided where he'll play this year. Retirement's also an option. I'm Scott Davidson.
That feeling of owning your first Mercedes-Benz is hard to believe, but it's real. From the leather stitching to the iconic design, every element of a Mercedes lives up to its reputation. See for yourself at your local dealer. Offers are waiting.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Number 1 on your car radio preset and the new and improved iHeart Radio app. WDAS and WD273D Philadelphia is Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler.
Welcome back to the Tough Cover Radio Show right here on Fox Sports The Gambler. And we got a lot to talk about. We just covered the wide world of sports entertainment, WrestleMania over the first hour with Nick McCone and Roy Burton. Now let's talk about the real stuff. Let's talk about sports. Hey. I'm allowed to say it, Sean Barnard. Hey. You're not allowed to come down on wrestling. I'm allowed to make fun of wrestling, but
Mark Henry Jr., if I'm going to take the strong stance of golf not being a sport, you better believe that.
Hey.
My list here.
Time out. Let's be honest about what sport takes more athletic ability.
Wrestling? I would agree with that. Yeah, wrestling compared to golf, for sure.
100%. Go watch Ray Phoenix last night for anybody.
No, I would agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. I'm more than willing. I call it fake sports all the time. The Labs Fan, big podcast I listen to, they sell shirts called Fake Sports Enthusiasts. I am a fake sports enthusiast. But the hazards are real, as they would say in the Don't Try This at Home commercials. But let's get back to the real stuff. Let's get NFL draft talk. Let's do a full NBA playoff preview. We're going to go to the NBA first. We got our guy Sean Barnard over here in the Summer League shirt over there. And let's talk about, I think, what's going to be an incredible Western Conference playoffs. I think this year in the Western Conference is going to be absolutely awesome for the playoff race, first round all the way through. I think I graded it out, the whole path and how many 7-game series there are. There's a bunch in here for me at least. So let's start with the West. Or actually, you know what? Let's start with the East because the West is more interesting. Let's push it off. The West, we'll get to the more interesting one. We're just going to go through the full bracket, East, and then we'll go over to the West. We start out with Cavs and the Miami Heat. Obviously, Heat may win the play-in game last night. I didn't see a second of it because I was at the Phils game. A little play-in talk. How about the play-in game last night, Sean? I heard it was great.
Yeah, that was definitely the best game as far as like actual enjoyability from a watching standpoint with that Heat game. But Heat held control for just about the bulk of that. The Hawks put up a late fight. Trae Young did some Trae Young things. When you let him hang around, he'll hit a couple threes to keep you in it. And that's ultimately what went down. Went to overtime, and Davion Mitchell became the story, getting red hot there. Tyler Hero played excellent last night. I do think Hero has had a bit of an underrated season, and I think he's been really good in the overall standpoint. And a guy that, like, we'll see what he can really grow into, but to give him a little bit of love there. So ultimately, the Heat did win. I still have my doubts about this Heat team. I don't think either one of these, this Hawks or Heat team, could make any sort of playoff noise. But shout out to Miami, they did earn it. Heat culture lives on, and ultimately, the play-in is concluded.
Yeah, I don't think. Do they win a game here against Cleveland?
I don't think so. I think it's a Cavs sweep. Yeah,
I agree, and I feel like the Cavs feel like they have a lot to prove coming in. Going into the playoffs. Obviously, they had an incredible regular season. We'll talk about how much we each individually buy it when we get probably to the next couple rounds here with the Cavs. But I think that they're going to wipe the Heat off the floor. I think if it was the Magic, they could have got a win in there. Yeah. If it was Cleveland, Orlando, I would have given Orlando a win. But the other play-in teams in the East were really weak this year, in my opinion. Let's move over to the 4-5 then, because I think that's probably the best series here in the Eastern Conference. It's the Indiana Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Pacers home court advantage. And the Bucks, Damian Lillard will be back here apparently in this series. Is he playing game 1 or no? But he's coming back in the series, it looks like.
It looks like they're targeting game 2 as a comeback. He's not going to be active today from what I saw, at least from the most recent Shams report there. A really strange situation. I have a hard time kind of digesting what to do. Like a blood clot is obviously not a sprained ankle or a sore knee or something like that. It's very like whatever the doctors say you got to kind of roll with there. It's obviously a big deal from from a Bucks perspective that you do have Dame Lillard. I was liking the way this Milwaukee team was looking the second half of the season, but Dame Lillard's a huge part of that team. So it will be interesting to see how much he's there. I think with or without Dame, I still lean towards this Indiana Pacers team that I do think that defensively they've been miles better than I thought was possible this season. Tyrese Halliburton playing like himself down the second half of the season. But we're not going to see Dame Lillard today. And I do think the Pacers set the tone getting the win.
The Pacers, I don't think people realize that the Pacers won 50 games this year. Like, I feel like the way people they had a good year. Like this is a legitimately good team. I feel like, especially down the stretch, I think they've been better. I know Halliburton especially has really taken off down the stretch, but this is a team that started 10-15 and won 50 games. So you look at just the last, since the first 25 games, you take them out, they're 40-17 in their last 57 games. Like, in my opinion, it's the third best team clearly in the Eastern Conference. And I know we're going to get to the Knicks. You hate the Knicks, and I'm not as believing in the Pistons as you, but I kind of I'm with you on the Knicks and your points on them. If this was Knicks Pacers, I'd be picking Pacers in 5 maybe. Like, I think that'd be a terrible matchup for the Knicks, as we saw last year. Even I know they had injuries, but I think the Pacers they have so much more depth than the Knicks do to rely on. I don't think there's that big of a gap between Brunson and Halliburton when Halliburton is this version that we've seen. The weird thing about Halliburton is he's so much more inconsistent. His peak might be better than Brunson, honestly.
He's frustrating to me for that exact reason. Like, because you're right. Like, when he's at his best, he's unbelievable, man. He can be like an all NBA quality guy, but then there's nights where he just simply does not have it and almost looks disinterested out there. It's really strange. Like, that's kind of my concern with this Pacers team and like the long haul is because of that very reason. I don't know if you can look at him as like the best player on your team if you actually want to be a championship contender. But with that said, like, there will be nights where he's still going to be that guy. So it's a tough situation, but interesting, like how it's been the reverse of last year, how he faded down the stretch last year, started awesome. This year he started slow, has been terrific down the home stretch of the season. So we'll see what version of him carries into the playoffs.
I picked Pacers in 7, almost just out of respect to Giannis and because Lillard is going to be back. Like, I think the Pacers win. I'm more confident that the Pacers win the series than that it goes 7 games, if that makes sense. If you told me, is it more likely the Pacers win in 5 or 6 or that the Bucks win the series? I'll say Pacers in 5 or 6. But where are you at in terms of how long the series goes?
Probably Pacers in 6. I could see it going 7 games, to be honest. I think Giannis has had a very underrated season as well, that it feels like it's flown under the radar just how good he's been. By far the best playmaking season of his career, a guy who has changed up his shot diet, taken out 3-pointers, really focused on what he does well. And I mean, the Bucks have followed that lead there. So I'll go Pacers in 6. Could certainly see it going 7 if Giannis gets that look in his eye, goes on a tear, which he's certainly capable of doing.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers, 7 guys in double figures here. Pascal is their leading scorer at 20.2. Like, maybe Pascal is the kind of second-ish guy you need when you have a Halliburton who can go get you 20. And Matherin obviously has taken a step this year, averaging 16 a game. I mean, I guess he hasn't taken much. I guess he averaged 17 a game as a rookie. I didn't realize that. But Matherin, I think, has gotten maybe more reliable night to night. A little more efficient here in looking at it. That surprises me. Now that I'm looking at that, I didn't realize that Matherin has basically been the same guy his entire year in the league. So I feel like I've been looking at his stats all year and thinking he took a step. Not really. So that's a bad point by me. Bad job by me. But I like Matherin. Point stands. Yeah, I think Matherin averaging 16 a game, shooting 4 threes a game, pretty efficient. He can compete on defense. I think he's their third best player. And then after that, like, you still have – yeah, Nembhard. I love Miles Turner. I'm a Miles Turner guy. Neesmith averaging 12 a game. To Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's a guy, when they give him like 32 minutes when someone's out, he averaged like 15 and 9. Like he can step up into bigger roles. You love Ben Shepherd. I think TJ McConnell's a great backup point guard.
Absolutely.
Isaiah Jackson can step in as a backup, 1.6 blocks per game in 16.8 minutes per game. Like, he might be hurt actually.
Yeah, I think he's hurt. I think toward his ACL.
Yeah. That's my bad. Jarris Walker does not get enough playing time to justify the pick that they made on him. I was actually kind of making fun of Trill the other day on the playback stream that I hopped on with them for the play-in game because he loves CMB in the draft. It's Colin Murray Broyles, right?
Correct. Yeah, and I hate him, by the way.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's Jarris Walker, but like less interesting.
Walker like showed way more to me. Like at the end of the day, like I don't know. We'll get more into that from an NBA draft perspective because I've heard like a lot of people whose opinions I respect be all in on this guy. I don't see the vision there. But to bring it back to Jarris Walker, I've been underwhelmed because I was a Jarris Walker guy coming out of college. I still would like to believe in him. I'm not selling all my stock yet, but it is a little concerning at this point that he has not carved out a niche in this team.
Yeah, it is. I mean, maybe he's so similar to Toppin kind of too, like that it's weird that they have both of them on the team. But yeah, I like the Pacers here, and we'll talk about how much in the next round. Knicks Pistons, and I want some bet between you and Sam Ostry here. He thinks the Knicks are going to wipe the floor with the Pistons. You think the Pistons are going to win the series?
Shout out my guy, Matt Chirico, too, who's a Knicks creator, Knicks guy. He's trying to challenge me to do the Waffle House challenge I'm not willing to do that for a team that's a plus 310 underdog to stake me staying 24 hours in a Waffle House. If this was Sixers Knicks, you can sign me up or something like that. I'm trying to think of something that's a little bit more fair in that regard. Certainly we'll be speaking with my bet slips and do believe that they do win the series, but an actual like head-to-head have not come up with anything. I like where the idea is at. I was trying to think if we can do something like New York, Detroit, something style like that, but nothing has come to mind just yet. Even if they lose today, I'm still in on it, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm not betting that game individually. By the way, I forgot to get. I like the over in Bucks Pacers today. Okay. Over 224.5 over on DraftKings. Actually, it looks like that just went up to 225.5. I still like it at 225.5. I actually haven't bet it yet, so I'll be getting a bad number there. But you look at each time these teams have played this year, it has been a track meet. And the Pacers play that style. The Bucks get up and down as well, obviously. But over 237, 229, and 232, and 246 in their 4 games here in terms of the totals. And we have 225.5. I get defense tightens up in the playoffs, but I don't think it tightens up that much. So give me the over there. I don't have anything in today's Knicks Pistons game. I'm going Knicks in 6. I'm not passionate about it. I'm kind of in between you guys. I think the Pistons give them, problems at times, but I think the Knicks probably win some close games just based on being here before.
Yeah, I like the plus 7.5 in favor of the Pistons today. My favorite bet on this game is the under of 11.5 rebounds for Karl-Anthony Towns. 12 rebounds is a lot. First off, I know he averaged 12.8 per game, but I think the Knicks are going to really be caught in this predicament of play Cat at the 4 versus play Cat at the 5. And Sam Ostry, who's very much a Knicks guy for this series, that do believe the Knicks wipe the floor with them. Our pushback and kind of fight here is like, for starters, I think like the root of the issues from New York, and this is not even just unique to this specific matchup, this is when Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be on the floor. When you have a creator like Cade Cunningham, they're going to have Karl-Anthony Towns circled and trying to get that switch, trying to attack him in the pick and roll, that Cade can either take him to the basket as Cat underwhelms as a rim protector or just blow by him on the perimeter because he can't move his feet as well. The counter to that and the way that you defend that is really having Josh Hart be the guy that switches and kind of avoiding that. But if you're doing that, that means that you're playing Cat at the 5. If that is the case, I think Detroit is really going to have their way on the glass in this game. That's really where I see the series coming down to, is it's going to be the Jalen Duren's crashing, the Isaiah Stewart's crashing, these guys running in, creating additional chances. It's the Karl-Anthony Towns problem, man. Like, as talented as he is, I really have a hard time seeing how he creates this advantageous matchup from a defensive standpoint. So that's my favorite bet of this, is under 11.5 rebounds for Karl-Anthony Towns today, and do like the plus 7.5.
I think we see that problem pop up, but it's round 2. I don't think we see it against the Pistons. And then I don't want to even spend too much time here. Celtics Magic. Celtics in 5. I gave the Magic the respect of that. Magic have played them well over the last couple of years, but I mean, not much there.
Yeah, I'm far closer to Celtics in 4 than Celtics in 6. I'll say that. And like the Magic overall, like I can't overstate how bad their shooting issues are. They're not only the worst 3-point shooting team in the league, They're the worst 3-point shooting team of any team in the NBA since 2015. That's how bad they are. And what's incredibly frustrating about that is the money that they handed Caldwell-Pope. $66 million this offseason to fix that problem. They don't have a single player on roster shooting over 40% from three. Caleb Houston shoots exactly 40% from three on a pretty limited sample size, and everyone else is below that there. So when you're going against the best three-point shooting team in the league, or at least highest volume when looking at this Boston Celtics team, I think there's going to be a pretty significant gap in that, one that's too difficult to overcome. Yeah, the Celtics aren't going to have any issues here.
And then we move on to the second round here, and this is an interesting series. Cavs Pacers. I think it's going all 7. I really do. There's part of me that wants to pick the Pacers. There really does. But I do think Donovan Mitchell is the best player in that series, and will step up enough in Game 7 situation to win them. But I think the Pacers take 2 or 3 at home, maybe steal 1 on the road if they take 2 at home. But I think this is going to go deep, and the Pacers have the depth, I think, to kind of give the Cavs problems. So Cavs in 7, but I'm closer to Pacers in 7 than Cavs in 6.
Yeah, I'm Cavs in 6 in this one. I do think like Evan Mobley for starters is like the ideal guy to guard Pascal Siakam. That I love that matchup there, which is going to be something they're going to have to fight with. I do think Donovan Mitchell is like a playoff riser type guy that is hungry for this, and I kind of like that there's this chip on the shoulder for this Cavs team. They've won so many regular season games and have been the best team in the Eastern Conference from start to finish. But you hear the way that people talk about them, and so do they. So I think there's going to be a pretty an edge to them that we might not have seen with this Cavs team. The Pacers are good. They'll give them a battle, but I do think it's Cavs in 6.
I think there's some nobody believes in us with the Pacers too, though. The Pacers made it to the Eastern Conference Final last year, and they won 50 games. They're 40-17 in the last 57. I think they feel like they're just as good as this Cavs team, and they've been here before. So I think when the time comes and if the Pacers looked good beating the Bucks in the first round, I'm gonna end up like picking the Pacers and getting in on it and probably taking like a plus 400 or whatever it'll be. But I do think the Pacers could beat the Cavs. I do believe that. Celtics Knicks. I'm tempted to say Celtics in 4. I gave Celtics in 5, but you have Celtics Pistons. Where are you going there?
Yeah, Celtics Pistons. I'll still go Celtics in 5. That I do think like my Pistons belief, like I think as everyone can read at this point, is pretty directed on the matchup with this Knicks team and the skepticism with this Knicks roster overall. The Celtics are the defending champions, will have the clear-cut best, probably 2. I don't know. I don't think Cade's better than Jaylen Brown yet, or throw him in that mix probably. So probably the best 2 players on the floor. The bottom line is I don't see ways where the Pistons can create these same advantages against
the Celtics. Wait a second. Time out. You asked me, you thought Cade was the better player than Jalen Brunson?
Yep.
You think Jaylen Brown's better than Jalen Brunson?
I do.
Wow. That surprises me.
I mean, for starters, incredible defense. Defense matters to me. That's something that is important. I do think, I
don't think Brunson's like a terrible defender, though. He's
not a good one.
I think he's a fine guard defender. Like, I don't think there's so many worse guards that are good players that are much worse defenders.
Is Jaylen Brown, I'm seeing did he make an all-NBA defensive team yet? He certainly could.
He might have. Jaylen Brown took a step back this year, though.
He did. My spin zone to that, I think that's more of Jason Tatum taking a step forward. I would argue that, like, I think Tatum deserves some flowers for, like, being clear cut. Like, I think the last couple seasons, really their entire careers, it's been a little bit of this battle of, like, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, who's the lead guy, this kind of conversation. Even all the last year's run, this year it was crystal clear every single night that Jason Tatum is the guy to me, and everything functions around him. So I think it was a little bit more of that than anything with Jaylen Brown.
I think Brunson's like a fringe top 10 guy and Brown's like a fringe top like 20 guy. It's what I would say. So I'm definitely, and I would say Cade's better than Brown at this point.
I can hear out the Cade and Brown argument a little bit there. My Jalen Brunson point, which I'm going to continue sticking to, I don't think he can be the best player on the championship team from an NBA standpoint. And
I don't think any of the 3 can.
Okay. Yeah, Cade, I'm keeping the door open on Cade still.
Maybe if it was like, not like a LeBron Luka situation where there's someone like right at Cade's level. If Cade becomes like a top 10 guy, I don't think Cade's ever going to be a top. I guess here's how we should just do it. How many guys in the league right now can you see being the best player on a title team? This is a detour, but I mean just Jokic.
Sure, obviously. Yep.
Luka.
For sure.
I think you still probably have to say LeBron at this point.
Yeah. Tatum.
Tatum, Giannis.
Giannis, absolutely. I wouldn't go Halliburton.
Is that it?
Donovan Mitchell, what do you think?
No.
Not
for me. I'm not in on the Cavs this year in terms of that level. I think he's right. He might be the 8th best player, the 9th best player, or whatever. We have 6 names right now. I don't think Brunson. I don't think Halliburton. I don't think Cade.
Do you think Anthony Davis?
No, definitely not. Wemby, definitely, but that's like a future
a while. Steph, obviously.
Steph, yeah, definitely Steph.
And I would say yes. Would you?
I'm willing to hear it out.
Okay.
He's right on the line, though. It's like, I think that's 50-50 to me.
Mitchell. I definitely lean yes for Ant.
Kawhi.
Kawhi for sure.
If Kawhi's Kawhi, yeah.
And he looks like Kawhi, I gotta say, man.
He definitely does.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is a short list. And by the way, with this conversation, context obviously matters. That the team behind them is very relevant. Yeah.
Ja's not on the list.
No, I firmly believe that is a no.
KD?
I don't think so at this point.
I think it might be done.
With that being said, though, you throw him on this Houston Rockets team, I do think that there's something there. You don't?
What? Something there, like KD going there?
Yeah.
If KD
is
on the team?
I think that's a contender.
I don't think they can win the title.
Here's my pitch is like, he's not going to be like the legwork guy of that Rockets team that they kind of have that with all their pieces that they have in place. What they're missing is a guy that just can hit those last shot, can get a bucket when you need it, which is what Kevin Durant has been better at arguably anyone ever when you look at his career here. So I think adding that at this stage would be an awesome move. That is how I see things ultimately getting resolved this summer. There's a whole lot of CBA hoops they got to jump through to make it happen. But the fact that Houston has Phoenix picks and the fact that Kevin Durant clearly seems like the breakup is coming, I do see that happening.
If you're Houston and you have such like this young core, do you want to marry into like a situation where he could so easily regress or like not himself anymore so quickly? Or do
they gotta shed young guys, dude? They have too many.
No, I agree. I totally agree. But do you have to almost wait for that to be like when Devin Booker's available or when Giannis, if he does become available, or like a Halliburton? Like I don't know who the name is that could shake free below 30. But if you're
doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. You're right. Yeah.
That's where I get to like the beggars can't be choosers here. Like if there's a Kevin Durant available and you kind of need to get a top end guy with the pieces you have, you got to run with that chance rather than waiting for a guy that may never pop up. So the window of opportunity is not large in the NBA. I think the Rockets have to jump on that one.
So there's a lot of Minnesota talk with them, but the argument back, I know Bill Simmons is saying like they have nothing to give kind of, and they don't have picks either, I guess. So I mean, that fit makes sense to me. Like, honestly, if it was just Ant and KD and you got rid of every other valuable piece and you figure it out replacement wise, I kind of get it. That's like a situation where it's like, I don't know if Ant or KD can be the best player on the title team, but if they were both on the same team, maybe if the team around it was right. But I don't know how he gets there. Every other team I'm seeing thrown out as a Kevin Durant spot, like, it kind of doesn't work in my head. Like the Houston thing, like the thing that they have is so many wings. Like I think they need the lead guard. Like they need Devin Booker.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously if all things equal, like I would prefer Devin Booker in this context, but you can't really be the chooser.
I just don't think I think the problem with them comes down to guard play. Cause I think Şengün's good enough. I think the wings are good enough. You have Eason, you have Thompson, you have Whitmore, you have
Jalen Green's your question, right?
Jalen Green and Fred. I'm not an FEV guy when it comes down to him being like my lead of the offense, kind of creating for others, shooting 38%. Like, and I get they've won 52 games. The one thing I'll say is because my buddy Pat Moran, who very passionate about the Rockets, thinks they're going to win this series against the Warriors. Thinks
they got a chance.
Thinks they are being undervalued. Thinks they go to the Western Conference Finals. He has a Lakers future, and he's still telling me that he thinks the Rockets might beat the Lakers. I think that they don't have a top 25 player.
Yeah, I mean, so Şengün or Green's your case there, and
It's not.
I like, yeah, Şengün I like a whole lot more for sure.
Şengün or Amen, honestly.
Yeah, I'm in the long haul. It is Amin. I do firmly believe that, like, we zoom forward this conversation a couple years, Amin's the best player, like, out of what they currently have.
But
the shooting.
Yeah, can he be like the lead guy, or can he be like a top 15 player who's unbelievable, but he's like the second guy to like Devin Booker? I think Devin Booker is the perfect fit in Houston. I don't know if Phoenix is ever going to pull the trigger on that, or if they view Booker as kind of like the long-term guy they're still building around before they blow it all up. But I think Booker to Houston is like the perfect fit. And my argument back is kind of like the Warriors won 4 less games than Houston. Like, I get that they're the 2 seed, and that's like they're the 2 seed and they have the 7th best odds in the Western Conference, and people might look at that and say, "Oh, it's so disrespectful." 7th best team had 4 less wins. It's not like we're talking about this huge gap between the 2 seed and the 7 seed, because it doesn't exist. So I think we zoomed past a series or two there to get to the Western Conference, but we'll get back to that. Eastern Conference. Let's shift back. I think that was a good tangent on best players that can, guys that can be the best players in the title team. So we both had Celtics, Cavs here in the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics in 5.
Celtics in 6. I do give the Cavs a puncher's chance, more so than I think a lot of people do. But yeah, I would be pretty shocked if it is not Celtics in the finals again this year.
I saw Mike Chiodo over on Twitter pick the Cavs to win the series. I know Trill is like gives the Cavs a really strong chance. I don't see it. Cavs
I did a stream last night with Adam Aronson from Philly Voice. Sixers Adam, shout out to him. He said he would be more shocked if it is Oklahoma City not coming out of the West than Boston not coming out of the East.
I totally disagree.
I do as well.
I totally disagree. I think the West is so much better than the East. And the Celtics are only going to have 1 hard series, whereas I think the Thunder are going to have definitely 2. So that's just, that's simple to me. But Western Conference, let's shift gears to the good conference. Thunder over Grizzlies in 4. Do the Grizzlies get a game?
4. No, I don't think they get a game.
No, neither do I at all. And then the main event, I think, of the first round, Clippers and the Nuggets. This opened, the Clippers were like minus 200. The Clippers were plus 160. It's now the Clippers are favored, I believe, on the series price. I wish I would have bet the Clippers at that plus 160. But as you know, I've been pushing this Clippers thing pretty strong. And I've been high on this team and high on their upside with Kawhi. Everybody knows how I feel about James Harden, who has never missed the playoffs, for all those who want to continue to call him a loser. But this is a Clippers team that are 26-11 with Kawhi Leonard. They're 15-2 in their last 17 games with Kawhi in the lineup. They are every bit of a title contender. I wanted to bet them to win the title. I actually wish they would have lost that game against Golden State so they could be the 7th seed and play Golden State. I would have bet them, maybe even instead of my Lakers future that I put in at 17-1. But I think the Clippers got a little bit of a nightmare draw here. You have to go 4 games in Denver potentially, and then you have to go play OKC. I'm picking the Clippers to win this series against Denver. I'm picking the Clippers in 6. But I'm a little worried at how much the world loves the Clippers and how much this is me betting on James Harden and Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs. But on paper, and Ben Simmons. Well, he's not a big guy. Whatever. He's going to play 15 minutes, but he won't look at the rim. But
Team Jokic you're talking about.
Exactly. I mean, it's actually not a bad person to use.
No, I don't hate it.
I guess, but you just have to imagine the shots go in. You have to tell him you have to take these shots as Jokic, and we have to just imagine they go in. But
I'll take Clippers. Yeah.
But give me the Clippers in 6. I really wish this shook out differently for the Clippers. I wish they could have gotten a Minnesota, maybe a Golden State. I think we saw they matched up well with Golden State. And I think they match up well with a lot of these teams. But I think the fact that they'd have to go at Denver, at OKC, and then potentially at the Los Angeles Lakers, where their home games will also be road games in the conference finals, that they even got there. I think it's a little bit of a nightmare kind of path for the Clippers.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal. I hear you with that there. I still like this Clippers team to absolutely win the series. I like their other guys a lot more than I like Denver's other guys. That yes, Christian Braun's great. Obviously, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., those guys, Aaron Gordon, who, by the way, looks like he got beat up or what something happened. I don't know if you saw that video of him.
No, I didn't.
He did his press conference, his media availability. He's got like a black eye, swollen face, and nobody asked him about it. Like, what happened here? But nonetheless, who knows if we ever get that story. The Clippers overall, Kawhi absolutely looks like Kawhi, man. Like, beyond just the production, his movement out there is different than I've seen from him in years at this point. Like, I didn't think that guy was still in there. And if he can last a playoff run, we've seen it. He can straight up carry teams to finals. Say what you want about James Harden, but that man kept this team afloat all season. No, and you're a Harden guy. I don't mean that.
Did you think? No, I know. Did you think this guy was still in there? Have you seen his stats these last couple weeks?
Unbelievable. I didn't think he'd be this good. I think I'm more a little bit positive Harden than probably the general Philly pulse of it. But like, yeah, I didn't think he could be this either. So I do tip my hat. And I also been running with this take. Want to hear your thoughts on. I think Ivica Zubac is going to be the toughest matchup that Jokic has had from a playoff perspective. The only real counter to that is Minnesota, who had the Cat and Gobert, but Zubac's been incredible this season.
Yeah, Minnesota's right there. It's either or, whoever you want to say. And I wanted to get Harden's stats here in April, and he's been unbelievable. By the way, my favorite bet of the day here, Clippers plus 2.5 in this game. I love them in game one. And James Harden over 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Game one, Harden. You give Harden like a week off. We've seen it time and time again, whether it be the first or the second round. We had the legendary game one against Boston without Joel out there, and Harden put them on his back and won them a game on the road there. I think we see the same. Harden and Kawhi both rested up. And also the problem with playing Denver on the road is generally like the altitude gets to you. I don't think that's going to happen in the first game of the series.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement there. I do think we get a strong Harden performance today. I like that number too. That's not bad. And the thing about Harden that's obviously awesome with those is there will be games where he just, ends up with 15, 16 assists, and there will be games where he gets red hot from three and can put up a 30 spot. I do think that there's at least one game in the series that James Harden basically wins on his own. There's probably at least one that he's pretty harmful for the Clippers, that he has to either take a direct backseat or the shots just aren't falling. That's the roller coaster that you get with him. But I like the concept. I like the outlook for game one, so don't hate that whatsoever.
Those are probably two of my favorite bets of the day there. And I'll say this. I like the Clippers to win the series. I have the Clippers in 6. I'm more confident they win today than I am that they win the series, to be honest. I really do believe in the game one Harden stuff. I think we've seen just the rest for him is like, it's a magic elixir. So give me the Clippers. And then we get to a series that I think you're going to be surprised on my take on.
Okay.
I'm scared. I'm scared for my Lakers. I'm scared for LeBron. I think it's such a young, kind of athletic team with Ant and McDaniels and not the whole team, but the wings are able to throw an interesting look at LeBron and Luka. Compared to the rest of these teams, they might defensively be the best positioned team to kind of handle this Lakers barrage. I think the most important player in this series, not to be Kendrick Perkins, is Austin Reeves. Yeah. Is Austin Reeves going to be this guy that we've seen down the stretch here with LeBron and Luka, where he's the perfect third guy? And I've been on this. I think he's the perfect third guy with these guys offensively. Now, there's some concerns about him defensively and some of the best teams. I think he can hold his own, but they have shown he does get hunted a little bit when they play elite guards. And Ant maybe will try to do that. I think the Lakers win this series, but I think it goes 7 games. I think this is going to be a knock 'em out, drag down fight. And I think Minnesota is going to steal game 2. That's my official prediction. I'm betting Lakers -4 along the same lines. You give LeBron and Luka kind of a week off to rest up. Maybe Luka's at LeBron University in terms of his health, hopefully. And I think we see kind of a fully rested Lakers come out and blow them out tonight. But then game 2, with only a 1 day in between, I think we see Minnesota win that game 2. And we were like, whoa, this is interesting. And I think it goes all 7 games. Give me the Lakers in 7. I kind of wish the Lakers got a different matchup.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear you as concerned as you are with this series here. I'm still sticking with Lakers in 6. I do think it's going to be a series, and I agree with your Reeves point. I wrote quite a bit on DraftKings Sportsbook or DK Network about the Reeves over 2.5 threes tonight, which is one of my favorite props on the day. It is that like kind of magic mix that it is going to be McDaniels on one of Luka or LeBron, and Anthony Edwards probably taking the other. That I think Reeves is the guy that's going to be the beneficiary, and that works for both sides of things there. And it will be interesting when you talk about like hunting Reeves. I'm curious how Luka Doncic ties into here because you can only really hunt one guy if you're going out that. I partially think the Luka Doncic defensive concerns, they're overblown in the first place. So there are stretches where he's at minimum competent defensively. But part of the appeal of, I think, teams doing that is it's just wearing on him, man. If he's got to carry that much of an offensive load and then you're going at him defensively and that just kind of tallies on and, spirals in that regard, I think that's sort of the appeal. So it wouldn't shock me if like the Timberwolves approach is more attacking Luka than Reeves, even though like I still probably would make the argument Luka's a better defender than Reeves straight up, but I'm curious how they go about that.
By the way, I just wanted to, because sometimes Basketball Reference takes forever to populate the 21 game stretches or whatever you want to do. James Harden in March and April, the last 22 games, the Clippers are 18-4. He's averaging 26, 10, and 6 on a steal and a half a game on 47% from the field, 39% from three, and 8.5 free throws a game at 86% from the free throw line. This is a James Harden we haven't seen since pre-Sixers, honestly.
And his efficiency splits, by the way, popped the second half of the season. And he really struggled early on. He was shooting below 40% from the field for a large part of the season. When Kawhi came in his own and sort of the roster fell in as designed there, his efficiency came right back. And I mean, this was an excellent season for Harden. He's like a no doubt all NBA guy in my mind.
If he doesn't, I might riot. I might riot the streets if James Harden doesn't get his respect. And then on the other side, I just wanted to bring this back again with Kawhi. Kawhi, his last 19 games, the Clippers are 16-3 in those games. He is averaging 26, 7, and 3.5 on 2 steals per game, almost a block per game as well. And he's shooting 53% from the field, 43% from three, and 83% from the free throw line. That's Kawhi Leonard. Like that's the guy who terrorized us in Philadelphia when he was on the Toronto Raptors. So you have those two guys playing that way. Whew,
scary stuff.
Scary stuff. All it took was getting rid of Paul George, apparently.
Addition by subtraction, as Norman Powell said.
Brutal. Warriors over Rockets in 6. What are your thoughts?
I'm going Warriors over Rockets in 7. I've give the Rockets a chance in this series. And the biggest thing from a matchup perspective that's going to be intriguing is when they go to the double big. When you go Steven Adams and Şengün, which they've had some pretty significant success with, I think the Warriors are going to struggle with that lineup. That I don't think Kevon Looney is like a legitimate option there. G. Santos getting an opportunity, and obviously Draymond's still going to be Draymond here. Definitely taking the over for ejections and technical fouls in the series as well. I do think that this is going to be one of those bad blood, knock them out, drag them out series. So it's going to be fun basketball. I think ultimately like the pedigree that you have with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler does make a difference. And the familiarity and kind of chemistry that those guys have built in such a short period of time is really impressive. It does feel like they just kind of know where they are, that Butler has plugged right in there. So I think ultimately the Warriors, their late game execution, their kind of know who they are as a team is what gets them through the series. But I do think that they're going to be rough with Steph Curry. There's going to be some games where Steph struggles. It's going to be a battle.
Guard play. It's not March Madness, but I do think in the NBA playoffs we see it as well. When it comes down to it, you got Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green against Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. And I know Jimmy Butler is not technically a guard, but he plays like a guard on offense. And besides the fact that he doesn't shoot threes, but in terms of the way he handles the ball and drives and kicks and gets to the free throw line, I mean, you look at the guy's free throw rate since he's been in Golden State. You combine,
which is huge for them, by the way.
Yes,
it's a big deal for them.
They never really had it, and you combine the Golden State whistle that they get sometimes with the Jimmy Butler whistle that Jimmy Butler gets sometimes. I mean, that's special stuff, and I think he's gonna. I have a feeling, Sean, the NBA might want Golden State, LA in the second round.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment there. That's certainly going to be what the league's rooting for.
They might want to see Steph Curry play LeBron and Luka instead of Alperen Şengün play LeBron.
Brooks doesn't fire up.
Yeah, Cam Whitmore. I I love a lot of these Rockets guys, but I do think when it comes down to it, they're the deeper team. They might be the better coach team, but the Warriors have the two best players in this series, and it's not close. It really isn't close. And I've been a Jimmy hater for a long time. What a perfect situation for Jimmy to fall into, man. What an a-hole for being traded to the perfect situation. It's so annoying. He's just going to terrorize me until the day he retires. But he's the perfect. I think he's the perfect sidekick for Steph.
Yeah, and beyond just like what he brings specifically, it's just felt like this entire roster has like settled in a way. And by the way, any thoughts on Kuminga getting?
Yeah, they
cut out.
Play him. I get it. You've been on this though, that you were concerned about Jimmy, Kuminga, and Draymond on the floor together in terms of the shooting. In my opinion, you got Steph and another shooter out there. I think you should be able to make it work, at least for stretches. And then you put Kuminga in there when either one of them are out. Like, they have to find a way to make it work. And I'm starting to think Kuminga is the type of guy that I would want to buy in on if I was another team, because I do think in the right context, he might just not be a good fit with Kerr, honestly.
And like that Golden State system is more particular than just about like any other team here. Like this isn't the off-ball motion, the places you got to be. Like there's so much going on in a way that I just don't think plays to Kuminga's skill set at all. With that all said, I do think it is pretty idiotic to outright bench him, and particularly the dude's an upcoming restricted free agent. Like if you want to talk about like getting value, and this has been a guy who's been in trade rumors, been in trade reports that they've shut down. If you didn't think that he could literally be in the rotation, which is what Steve Kerr is expressing with his decisions here, why is he still on the roster, man? Like, you should have traded him and gotten something for him, or even included him in the Jimmy package to get him, or whatever the case may be. I don't think they've gone about this the right way. And really, this dates back a couple of years, their management of him. But I think they've done a really bad job with bringing him along. I get he's not a Steve Kerr guy, but I think they've kind of mishandled the asset here, and you're going to lose out in the long haul because of that.
His efficiency's dropped off this year. A lot of that's he's taking more threes, and he's not good at it, and he's shooting a worse percentage from three. But the one thing I'll say is, like, this guy's averaging 22 per game per 36. Like, if this guy he only played 24 minutes per game this year, and he averaged 15. Like, yeah, I think Kuminga is I don't know who the team that. Yeah, I think the Sixers makes some sense, but I think there's a lot of teams out there that really could slot him in, and he would make a ton of sense. The Sixers don't make sense financially, unfortunately, but I think there's a ton of teams out there that just fit wise he would look a lot better on. But let's get to the
29. I think is probably the list there. 29 other teams I think fit wise is probably better.
You might be right there. And here's where it gets interesting, because I have 3 more series left in the West here, two second round and a Western Conference Finals. I have all 3 going 7 games. And I already gave you Lakers over T-Wolves in 7. I gave you Pacers over Bucks in 7. So I've got 5 7-game series here in this playoffs. And the first one here is OKC and the Clippers. I'm going to give the nod to OKC. I think the Clippers are a tough matchup for anybody, and they've shown that they can hang with OKC. I think they've beaten them 2 or 3 times this year. But I think OKC, you probably feel better about this than if it was like the Lakers as the 4 or the 5, but definitely not a fun matchup for OKC to deal with out of the 5 hole. But giving the Thunder in 7, too much to handle.
Yeah, I agree there. And it's interesting, like when we talk about like guys getting buried, like I think like the 9th man on OKC is like a 6th man on most team. And I think
Aaron
that's
Wiggins.
Aaron
starter, I think.
Yeah. Honestly, that's probably right. And even like the Isaiah Joes of the world, the Cason Wallaces, like all these guys can play, man. And I do think that's people forget like how much of a grind the NBA playoffs are. Like this is 2 months we're buckling up for, games every other night. And I think that is going to play a factor. So I like Oklahoma City. I do think that they ultimately win. I think they are pretty much a lock for going to the conference finals and maybe even the finals. The other side, the conference finals, I'm not going to go farther than that. But yeah, I don't think Oklahoma City has any trouble here.
And then in the other series, we have Lakers and Warriors. I'm going to go Lakers in 7. I'm closer to Lakers in 6 than I am Warriors in the Warriors to win the series. I actually think this is a better matchup for the Lakers than the Timberwolves. I think this will actually be an easier series than the first round would have been for the Lakers.
And the Lakers should be jumping for joy that they did not get the Denver Nuggets anywhere near their path here, because that was the biggest thing that I was worried about. If you get a series against Jokic with, their internal issues and big man issues, that was my biggest concern for the Lakers overall. They did avoid that.
And you could argue Zubac as well. The thing I'd say about that, and I feel like I beat a dead drum on this. And by the way, Lakers and Clippers never played in a playoff series, not one time in their history. A lot of that is to do with the Clippers. But the Lakers and Clippers, I think it'd be a nightmare for the Clippers to play the Lakers in a series because I think it's 7 road games. I don't think you play a home game in that series. But I think matchup-wise, I actually think they match up really well with the Lakers in terms of having Zubac to beat them up inside, Kawhi, and to match up with either LeBron or Luka. And you have some other defensive pieces there as well. I think basketball-wise, I think the Lakers are lucky they avoided the Clippers, and kind of other things wise, the Clippers are lucky they avoided the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that is fair there. That would be interesting. And by the way, you've expressed you believe Jackson Hayes can be good enough from a Lakers perspective, right?
25 minutes. Just 20 to 25 minutes. You run small ball the rest of the game. I think he'll be fine. I think he's enough of a lob threat on offense that he can at least run pick and pop, or not pick and pop. He can at least run pick and roll with Luka, and to a little less degree LeBron. And then I think he can hang defensively, use those fouls,
You know what also crossed my mind while I was watching the Mavericks get blown out last night is one of the biggest losers of this entire Luka Doncic trade. That trade right there might have cost Derek Lively like $100 million, man.
Yeah, that's a great call. That is a great call. And one more thing on the Jackson Hayes front, and I really wish it was the Mark Williams front, but on the Jackson Hayes front, you look at the potential first 2 rounds here. Anything that besides, I guess if Şengün and Houston win, that could be annoying in round 2. But if you deal with Rudy Gobert in round 1, is he going to tear you apart inside? And then round 2, you have the Quentin Post and Draymond Green.
I do like Quentin Post, but
I like him too. But I mean, I don't think that you're terrified to play Jackson Hayes 20 to 25 minutes or think he's going to get played off the floor in those series. Like, it's not like there's a cat, I guess, to hunt him as a big or something like that. Or Zubac or Jokic or Chet or whatever you want to say. That comes later. And then that comes here. Thunder Lakers. I might be playing it up, but there was a guy last year who beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and now he plays with LeBron James. Yeah. So give me Luka, not LeBron, to get this done in the Western Conference Finals, because for the first time in LeBron James' career, he's the second best player on his own team.
Yeah, I think it's Thunder in 7. I do think we get an all-time game 7 there. The Thunder got better, man. They got so much better from last year. And every area, all these guys progressing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander taking a step. You're pushing back to that?
No, the Thunder are definitely better.
Okay.
Are the Lakers better than the Mavs were?
The reason I'm not there is you got to give me I would feel differently with Mark Williams. Mark Williams, I'm still bummed about that trade, man. I do think that's going to be a factor in this series, particularly when they roll out the Chet and Hartenstein lineups, which have been really effective, by the way. So I think the Thunder just have way too many options they can roll with, and the Lakers limitations still stand. So I do think it's OKC in 7, but that's going to be an awesome series.
Awesome. That I cannot wait if we were to be lucky enough to see that. And by the way, here's the take. I'm more sure the Lakers. No, you know what? It's not. I don't believe in the take. I'm not going to say the take. I don't believe in the take. I was going to say that I'm more sure the Lakers get to the conference finals than the Thunder, but the Thunder have the easy first round series, and the Lakers are going to have 2 hard ones. So bad take, bad job. I think the Thunder's second round series would be harder than the Lakers' second round series against Houston or Golden State, as opposed to the Clippers and Thunder. So yeah. I think the Thunder have a higher chance of losing in the second round. But like I said, Minnesota won that series in round 1. I wouldn't be surprised. So bad take by me. Bad job. So that brings me to Celtics Lakers, brings you to Celtics Thunder. I'll let you go first.
It's Thunder in 6 for me. I do think Boston, it's really hard to repeat. They're very good. The 3-point reliance, I still feel like at some point is going to bite them. And I do think it happens in the playoffs when they have this amount of perimeter defenders, the Lou Dorts, the Cason Wallaces, all these guys you can rotate and throw. I do think it's going to be bothersome. Celtics will still have success, get theirs. I just think they're too deep. All the concerns about them being too green or they haven't done it yet. Nobody's done it until you do it. We've said this about the Nuggets. We've said this about the Bucks. It takes the team to do it for the first time. I think this year is that Thunder's time.
Celtics over Lakers in 5, unfortunately. and here's where I'm going. The Lakers go 7 against the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
They win.
I hear you.
The Lakers go 7 against the Warriors. Although I think that I might be going too long there. That might be a 6-game series. But I gave it 7 because the Lakers would be home court for 7. So Lakers in 7. And then you get the Western Conference Finals. And I think Lakers Thunder would take every ounce of LeBron's remaining juice and Luka's fat body to I tried to fit in a joke there. Shout out Nico. But I think that they're going to wear themselves out, while as I have the Celtics playing 5-game series, 5-game series, 5-game series. And then you get the Celtics go up 2-0 right away. And there you are. Good night. Good luck.
Yeah. And I by the way, for the Luka out of shape comments, I had the thought sitting there watching the Mavericks lose last night. Luka Doncic could be 350 pounds and have 4 scrubs around him. And I don't think he loses to that Grizzlies team in a one-on-one elimination game like ever. And it is strange to me, like how, and I'm not strange, but like Nico Harrison has become a main character of this NBA season. That the camera cuts to him like 20 times last night. It was so funny. Anthony Davis limping off injured, camera immediately to Nico Harrison in the crowd there. And part of me's like, they're overdoing this. Like, this is insane. They're showing him this month or this much. But then I just kind of sit there and be like, that man really traded Luka Doncic at 25 years old, man. It really is unbelievable.
The craziest thing is he made the worst basketball trade I've ever seen. He traded a young star guard, which we all know are so hard to find. And he also traded Luka Doncic.
Yeah. Shout out Q-Dot.
Quentin Grimes. And by the way, his answer to Tim McMahon about the Quentin Grimes trade might have been even worse than the Luka answer.
Horrible, man. Every single answer is bad. The medical staff, like every single answer is brutal from Nico Harrison. Like, I seriously think this second half of the season is like a blueprint for everything that you like can do wrong as an organization. They've dug their hole deeper and deeper. The closed door meeting, every single answer leaks out. And by the way, there's about to be a bombshell report coming from Tim McMahon on Monday about Dirk Nowitzki and his whole stance on the organization, which I can't wait to read that.
And my dad commented, Conspira LeBron. And by the way, Adam Silver did go on Pat McAfee this week and parrot. He said, well, the ratings actually took off at Christmas and then took off again at the trade deadline because we had a really big trade that went down in the league. And I was like, oh, Adam, take it easy. Maybe don't say that on air. People are going to start thinking some things. Because honestly, I usually get mad at the conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. I'm not saying it was a conspiracy that Luka was traded to the Lakers, but if I was one of those people, it's not hard to get there mentally.
No.
I have to at least admit, like, I see why you feel that way. Because
I'm not one of those guys either, but I like, you don't have to squint hard or think about, like, there is no logic to back up why this decision was made. And defense wins championships, they say, as they give up 49 points in 16 minutes last night. Like, it just, none of it makes sense whatsoever. I still can't believe it happens. I think I will live my entire lifetime, and I think that will be the worst trade I've ever seen. I don't see anything ever passing that.
I totally agree.
And one more quick shout out. I do feel a ton of sympathy and bad for Anthony Davis, man. Like, it is not his fault. He's thrown in that title. Yeah, but like you're walking into an organization where they hate everyone. And like I watched him last night, who, by the way, give him credit for even returning to the floor and playing. Like, a lot of guys would be sitting out at this point. He played on, there's no way he was remotely healthy. Still gave him 40 last night, and then stood up, faced the music, talked about, like, I get how everyone loves Luka. I understand why the fan base is upset. I'm grateful I get to play basketball. I gained some respect for Anthony Davis this year.
That's fair. All right. Real quick, last 10 minutes here. I'm going to run down. I'm not going to go too deep. I didn't want to just read my rankings or do a mock draft. I'm just going to give general takes. I went down the first round. I went down my big board. Just here's some are about teams, some are about players, some are about where guys are going to go, whatever. Raise your hand, Sean, if there's anything I say that you disagree with or you want to chime in on here. Some you're not going to, some are some nerdy sicko stuff, but some are interesting. Take one. Tennessee will regret drafting Cam Ward. I don't think that the situation is set up for success for any quarterback. I don't think they're in a situation where you have to go take the quarterback because the team is terrible. There is so little to build on roster-wise there. You're plugging in the quarterback and it's like, oh, we'll figure out the rest later. That's not how it works. You want to be competitive on that rookie scale contract. There's no way Tennessee's competitive in the next 2 years, to me. Maybe 3 years from now, if Cam Ward's awesome and they nail all these other things around him. I think they're so far from competitiveness. I'm not. I think it's a bad decision.
I think that's fair. I have no issue with that one.
Will Johnson is a better cornerback prospect than Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is people obviously might be a better prospect overall. I still don't think so because he's a wide receiver. But is he playing both at the next level? That's what we're going to see. He's demanding that he play both, which a lot of people have a problem with. If I'm him, I want to play both. Like you want to. That's what he's known for. He's two-way football Ohtani. Like if it doesn't work, if he gets hurt, then maybe you reconsider and you change your attitude. I think as of right now, you have to let him play at least some snaps at receiver.
Yeah, I think he's better off making it clear right now the way he is than like keeping that a secret. Like he should be expressing that. So yeah, I have no problems with that. And I figured you'd get there on the Will Johnson thing.
I have Ashton Genty second overall on my big board, only behind Will Johnson. But there is no player definitively better than him in this class at their position. I have Will Johnson ahead of them. I have him in the saved draft grade. Did you see him dunk yesterday? Ashton Genty at 5'8". Not only should Vegas take him at 6, and I think they will. I think that's what's going to happen. I haven't heard this buzz because they have Travis Etienne, who's rushed for 3.7 and 3.8 yards per carry the last 2 years. Trevor Lawrence, besides Brian Thomas Jr., has never played with an above average offensive weapon, in my opinion. I think Travis Etienne stinks. Gabe Davis.
Brian Thomas is good.
Well, I said until Brian Thomas was a rookie. Besides Brian Thomas, I don't know who the best skill position guy he's ever played with. It's probably Etienne, who's been so disappointing. Maybe Gabe Davis, maybe Evan Ingram. Give him Ashton Genty, and let's figure out finally what Trevor Lawrence is and what this offense can be. You have a new head coach. I get that they're going to go defense probably, and they have a lot of holes on defense. I think Ashton Genty's the right pick at 5 for Jacksonville. And I'm not Mr. Take a running back. I get the value proposition. I think he's that special. I think he's LaDainian Tomlinson.
No issues with that. No issues for me there.
Patriots will take an O-lineman, but they should take Tet McMillan. They went out and they signed Stephon Diggs. I think that was their signal that we feel good at receiver. We're going and drafting the O-lineman. Stephon Diggs is old. He's a bad guy. And he's.
Oh, they were trading for AJ Brown anyway.
Oh yeah, there you go. They could be trading this pick for AJ Brown instead. So there you go. What moronic reports. But I think they're going to take Will Campbell. I think it should be Tet McMillan. The Jets should, and I think will, take Tyler Warren, who will immediately become the best Jets tight end of my lifetime. I can't remember the last time the Jets have had any level of a difference-making tight end. Dustin Keller, way back in the day. Jets tight ends have not been good my whole life. Tyler Warren immediately steps in and turns into a Dallas Goedert kind of level tight end. I think he's a little more upside than Goddard, but also if Goddard was in a different offense that focused on the tight end more, maybe he'd get in more of those 80, 90 catch seasons instead of the 50, 60 catch seasons, or if he stayed healthy. A lot of different conversations to be had. But, I mean, it says a lot that I have Tyler Warren ranked 7th overall, and I think he's almost a carbon copy of Dallas Goedert. I think it says a lot about how much I value Dallas Goedert. Please don't trade him, Howie. Just let him stay. Just pay him the money and let him stay in Philly. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. Carolina, yet another team that should draft Tet McMillan if he's there. Sounds like it's going to be Jalen Walker or a pass rusher. I think it should be Tet. I get the championships are built through the trenches, but Dallas desperately needs to add a second weapon there to add to CD Lamb. Whether that's, Tet and Genty are gone, they're going to have to get Omarion Hampton. But they have to add a second weapon because Dak is floundering out there. They have absolutely nothing besides CD. And CD's great. You need something else. Anything on those couple there, Sean?
Yeah, not really there. I'll let you rip through the last of these, Mark.
Got you. Dolphins desperately need help at DB. Move up and go get Will Johnson. The Colts need to walk out of this draft with Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland. Colts tight end need might be their biggest need on the entire board. Falcons were last in sacks last year. Go get a James Pierce type. He should be going top 5. Seems like he's going to be going later in the first round. Broncos or Chargers should really take a huge step and trade up for Omarion Hampton. You put that running back into those offenses. I think it takes them up another level. I think both had terrible running back play last year in Denver and the Chargers. So if you gave him I think Omarion Hampton's type of guy, top 10 to 15 running back right away as soon as he steps in the league. But I do think what the Chargers do is they trade up and they get Colston Loveland, who apparently Jim Harbaugh loves from his days at Michigan. I think you'll have to trade up to that 10 to 13 range to get in front of Indy. The Ravens are going to go O-line, but as always, they should go receiver. They have never had a difference-making receiver. I stand on business with that. Go draft Trey Harris, put him in purple. I'm not a hip doctor, but there's no reason Benjamin Morrison shouldn't be a no-doubt first-rounder in terms of on the field. 9 picks in 2 years there, 3 pick sixes, special player from Notre Dame. I'm biased. Deion Walker fell because of his 2024 tape where he played with a fractured vertebrae. He should be judged on his 2023 tape when he didn't have a broken back because we had him as a first-rounder. Unless we want to say he has back problems, I'm not a doctor yet again. He's going to go in the third round or later. He's a first-round talent, or at least what he put on the board in 2023. Even with a broken back, I think he can be productive, by the way. I don't think he's as bad as people made him seem in 2024. Not only will I already said this, never mind. Wyatt Milam visited the Eagles the other day. Most have him graded as a third-rounder. I have him graded as a first-rounder. I get his arms are short. He allowed 0 sacks in 3 years at offensive tackle at West Virginia. Pretty high level of play there. Wyatt Milam, I think he's going to be a starter at the next level. My top 5 bust predictions this year in the NFL draft. Jalen Walker, he's going to go in the first round. I have him as a linebacker. I have him outside of my first round. I get the vision with Jalen Walker. I think he's a little bit of a linebacker edge tweener, though. Don't know if he has the size for edge. Don't know if he has the coverage ability for linebacker. Mike Green, bad guy. Luther Burden, his production really dropped off as a senior. Don't love to see that. Michael Williams and Shamar Stewart, same kind of thing. They are combine warriors. I don't think they're good football players. Look like Tarzan, play like Jane. And then last but not least, my realistic dream Eagles at 32. James Pierce shouldn't be realistic. Apparently he's going to fall that far, though. Derek Harmon and Walter Nolan go hand in hand. 2 defensive tackles that I think are 3-down players. You plug them next to Jalen Carter. Woo, Nelly. And then 3 safeties that I would absolutely take a look at 32. Xavier Watts. A lot of people might look at that as a reach. The guy is an absolute ball hawk. 13 picks in 2 years there at Notre Dame. Hell of a center fielder. Malachi Starks, Georgia, put the G on the helmet. He's going to be an Eagle. Nick Emanwery, that's just a pure athlete buy. Best safety that's ever been tested at the Combine. And that's going to do it for the Tough Cover Radio Show. WrestleMania preview with Nick and Roy that you can go check that out on my Twitter. That NBA playoff preview will re-air over on Twitter. We'll retweet it out with Sean Barnard and I. And thanks for listening. Tough Cover Country, let's ride.
Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. Now, total traffic for Philadelphia.